It is snowing as I leave. Oh, might have stopped a little. No, it's still snowing a bit. As I leave the Meadows and head towards Ohio, making good time. I left before the 12th race post parade, and I was in the 11th. And we'll get to Tenacious in a second. I want to start with the way my day started. I get over here early. Went with Yo Mister. Now, Yo Mister's problem's always been the same. Gets his head twisted around in the turns, and loses a little power on a 5/8. How Brett ever won with him on a half that time at the fair was amazing. But, as we went through the second turn, coming to the half, he literally was almost in reverse. Pouts a little bit, James had told me when he runs in on the big track, he trots forward. When he runs out, he doesn't. It's the opposite here. He trots fine running out. Running in is where he has a problem. Now, as we come out of the last turn, even if I could have out-sprinted Dave Pallone, I couldn't have kept him down to the rail. That's how bad he runs out the straights, runs in the turns. So, a complicated horse to, 1, drive, and 2, hang up. We're going to make a few little changes on him next week, see if it helps. See if it helps Yo Mister at all. He fits a class on Wednesday, so potentially Thursday back Wednesday also with him. Little trickier next week. You guys take your Thanksgiving very serious south of the border. There's no races at the Meadows Thursday or Friday. Friday seems like overkill, but no races here Thursday or Friday, only Wednesday. Thursday, no races in Dayton also. So no races. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. They do race Friday at Dayton, but not on Thursday. I won't be here Friday anyway. Amy has asked that we go back to Ontario. I want to check in with the boys in the barn. It's been a while. It's been a minute since I was back in Ontario. Check in, see how the horses are training down. Saturday, hopefully the weather's good. I want to sit behind some of them and see how they're training down. Myself, especially the ones that we had sent over to Ontario, and get a look at them. Now, Yo Mister raced good though, finished second. Dave's horse was the favorite. He collared me in the last turn, and if you can just stay ahead of them like he did last week, he'll usually out-trot them down the lane. But I told you guys how I thought the race would go, and that's kind of how the race went. I opted to put Yo Mister on the front because I would never have been able to get him up the inside. And in my mind, especially where the horses were getting away, Aaron was going to be first or second over. Dave was going to be right there in the hunt also. I didn't want to be pinned in a place where I could not get out, so I opted to leave him on the front. And he is a better horse off the pace also. It's a funny story. The last time I drove this horse in 2 consecutive races was when he went to the Meadows the last time for Stacy. He won his first start and finished second on the front his second start, much the same as he did this time around. But nevertheless, raced good and finished second in 54 and a piece. I thought the horse raced pretty good. Surprise of the day was Ready for Landing. Not that he raced good, just that he won so easily, and a lot of the other horses were working for it. I know Aaron's horse made a break coming in the last turn. It didn't matter. I was going to win anyway. He might have been second, I suppose, though, so it mattered to him. Chris Lems ended up on the front with Butter and Syrup or something. She raced really well. I thought that she raced poorly. Ready for Landing raced really well. Kind of stalled down the backstretch. Aaron, you could tell when we moved, and I could see the body language of Chris. Aaron was going to trot right by him, which he did. I was in a great spot, Ready for Landing. He is so much better now. Coming off the car, I let him trot out of there. I think he's the type of horse where if you just let him trot out for 100 yards, you can back him in the hole, you can do what you want. But if you come off the car and immediately start to backpedal, I think he gets a little anxious and he gets a little angry. It's almost like he has to come to the realization that we're not getting to the front right away. And once he's figured it out, then it's okay. Last week he was a little grabby going into the first turn. Today he was quiet as a kitten. Dropped him over in the 5-hole. I was going to stay there too. Waited. And finally Aaron moved to the outside. I followed him, and we both just blew right by the front end. Ready for Landing won very easily under minimal urging. A good mile, 57 and 3. His own last quarter had to be 28-4, 29 seconds. I thought he raced pretty good. Spitfire Overseas, also surprising. I'd said to Stacy after, I thought something was bothering him right front. Now, he didn't steer that way in the mile, but when I post-paraded, I thought he was a little pinchy right front, and when we turned to go to the gate, a little pinchy right front. Not in the mile, not before the mile, not when I scored him down. Everything else seemed good. Everything else seemed great in that regard. Just those two very specific points in time, I thought that he was a little pinchy right front. She told me he was just shod, and they did take a little bit of foot off him. I thought the horse mechanically felt good. A little weak. I thought when we came out of the last turn, he'd trot away. But, you know, in my memory, when I go back and think about it, that's not his MO, right? Attack first over hard, clear off, and drive away. No, if he plowed by them down the backstretch, he might open up and drive away. But that's kind of how he's always been. Tim won a milestone race as the trainer of this horse maybe a year ago. Same type of trip. First over, cleared to the front, just hung on in the middle to win it. But I had said to Stacy, maybe get him scoped just to make sure. Obviously, if you guys remember the history of Spitfire Overseas, was on Lasix as a 3-year-old. Flipped his heart, right? He had arrhythmia. Ended up costing him the majority of the summer, and then come back off of Lasix and has raced great. Intermittently, from time to time, you might see a half out of 5 of blood. But again, that would be attributed to maybe a little sickness or stuff. There was never any time, I don't believe, that Stacy's ever told me he bled. There was always a little bit of blood, but this why, or but this is why. And just to be sure, I'd said maybe it was worth it and beneficial to get him scoped. Maybe get him some anti-inflammatories to go home, because there is something bothering him. It seemed like a knee, but given the history and knowing that he was just shod this week, we changed his shoes from a steel to an aluminum alloy, took some toe off him. The likely culprit is his foot, but either way, it was there, so I explained it to her. Her and Brett are going to be on top of that for sure. And you knew that the horse was looking at a breakout race. I just didn't know how he'd be. The shoeing change that Brett and Stacy had advised absolutely helped. I can't speak to how he was before or breaks or anything like that, but he was very, very good today. So I was really impressed with the way Spitfire Overseas raced. That is hot. Oh my God. Okay. Next up was, where are we at here? Spitfire Save America. Jogged. Looked great. Brett did it. Speaking of Brett and Stacy again, Brett did a great job with him. Jason knows this horse very, very well. Keep in mind, I don't think I've ever sat behind Save America. No, I trained him one time. I'm not even sure I did. I definitely haven't driven him. I was supposed to drive him one time. That did not work out. But Jason has had this horse very, very good, and raced very good again today. Dominated the front end and drove off. Again, I saw that McCrunch was in there. I don't know if I ever got my hand up at Harrisburg. I thought McCrunch would bring a little more than 6 figures at Harrisburg, and if my memory serves me, he hit right on 95,000. And I remember very vividly, I'm sure of it, I remember the auctioneer 95 once, twice, and I almost raised my hand, and I said, you know, we got a really nice Captain Crunch already. I'm good. And I let him alone. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Greg Luther was the one that purchased McCrunch. I just heard his name today in Dayton. And then the only blemish on the entire day, for the most part, was Tenacious Hanover's break. It's one of those sorry, not sorry type situations. I wanted to duck him. I told you guys that yesterday. But when I look left coming off the car, and the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all kind of looking around like kids at a grade 7 dance, you know, it's to me, it felt like an easy drive over into the 3-hole or the 2-hole and get away good. And I maybe was a little too cute going out of there. If I had a really pressed out of there, I might have been in the 2-hole. But I was looking for a ride. Remember I told you about looking left coming off the gate and looking for holes? I thought maybe Brady would shoot me a hole, but when you're coming out of there with a long shot, I don't blame him. I wouldn't have given me the hole either. And the problem started when I looked at the 4-hole, knew that that's Tim's other horse, the other Captain Crunch. I'm thinking, he's probably going to shoot me a hole. We're not really teammates, but we're not either. And I went to back him into the hole, and I think he just caught a corner shoe and made a break, just a quick little break, and come up pacing, and he was fine. But then he almost did it again. I'm wondering if there's a corner of a shoe maybe showing, and I have no idea. That will happen once in a while for horses at Crossfire. Crossfire's just a hair in the turns, and right in the point of the turns, right where he's done it, he's got out of gear before. But when you're advancing, he's okay. But when you got him bottled a little bit, that shortens your gate up, right? Just a hair. And just as I grabbed him, I really believe he just shortened up a little bit. That left hind come up, just interrupted his gait. Just grabbed that right shoe, just a hair, and he made a quick break. But I think if I had been more conservative or much less conservative, I would have been down to the rail somewhere a little more comfy. And that, I suppose, is on me in that regard. But it's just not one of those things where when I looked left, it seemed like it was the right move, and it turned out not being. Not as bad as Breeders' Crown, but at the same token, similar in the sense where you're a longer shot going out of there looking for friends where there just isn't any, and there's not supposed to be, quite frankly. So I wouldn't worry too much about Tenacious's break. I can tell you with some degree of certainty why he made the break. I think he just crossfired, caught that corner, the inside corner of that shoe, and just made a quick break. It's not something that you're going to see come back, but it is something you have to be wary of when you are on the turns. When you're grabbing him to back him in somewhere, this is something that could happen in the future. So again, just keep that upstairs for next time, maybe. Now, for the rest of the day, we do have Patrick the Piranha coming up. I'm eager to watch his race also. Rock's Shining Star, Greatest Ending, and we're going to cap off the night with a nice little 9:30 start for Admiral Dio. Good luck to all my partners, and Travis, not James. So, a good start. I told you guys I thought we were sitting on a good day. I was hopeful. I was optimistic. A second with Yo Mister, a win with Ready for Landing, a win with Spitfire Overseas, a win with Save America. A little break. Can't be perfect all the time. A little break with Tenacious Hanover, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more coming at you. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Keep watching the rest of the races. Good luck to all my partners the rest of the night. For me, maybe I will be back. Maybe I won't. It depends how the horses did. Might need more of a post-mortem morning recap than a 10 o'clock at night driving around somewhere. I'm not driving anywhere tonight, so you might not get a recap of the other ones till tomorrow. We'll see. Take care.